Kathleen, you recently sent a photo to the staff that you got 6 vials of blood drawn.
That's what we're going with.
The best part was she was saying Todd, Mr. Military Man, had
Cannot be.
had like a thumbtack of blood drawn a couple years ago and was like, I haven't had blood drawn forever. Like, do I need to like take the day off or rest? It's like, dude, you're like G.I. Joe. What if you scrape your knee?
Yeah. I thought he was tough.
Not be it.
Why not?
He did ask me if I could drive after I had my blood taken. And he listened to last week's podcast and was like, I got my name dropped when I was talking about how much you drink LaCroix excessively. And I was like, well, it's something.
6 vials is a lot, but Todd, I believe in you. You can drive home after you get your blood drawn.
Hello and welcome to another episode of TPO Explains. I'm Joe, podcast producer here at The Pour Over, and I'm here with Jason, our founder and editor-in-chief, and Kathleen, our managing editor. So here's the idea behind the show. Our readers share which topics they want us to explore, and then we bring that to the podcast. Today's winner, Epstein Files. We'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, here
everyone.
we go.
Winner, yes, in quotes.
You guys voted. We didn't choose this.
Yes. So,
overwhelmingly.
yeah, so thank you guys. So here's what I understand the Epstein Files to be. It's surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, who was this individual who had some shady things going on with assault and trafficking, and he was sentenced to jail. And even that, he died while in jail, so there's some controversy on what happened there. And I think the public wants these so-called Epstein Files released because there's an idea or a hypothesis that he was involved with trafficking underage girls to big-name, powerful, rich people. So I think that's why we are seeing the Epstein Files title in the news, because people want to know if there are other public figures involved.
Yeah, pretty good. I think, so for the sake of this episode and to keep it short, because there are entire websites dedicated to the rabbit trails that this can go down, we're really focused on, like, what are the Epstein Files? When you see that in the news, what, like, are we looking for a missing envelope? Or what is...
That's really what I thought.
Yeah. So...
I thought it was a manila envelope specifically.
Sure.
That seems right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very briefly, I'll give some background on who Epstein was. He was a financier and kind of went up through Wall Street and ended up starting his own very mysterious firm that only accepted like secretive clients that had $1 billion or more to invest. And part of the mystique was, hey, you don't know what I'm doing. You don't even know who my clients are. But he then, has the biggest house in Manhattan and a private island and starts throwing these parties where, politicians and British royalty and all these things. So he's this like shadow figure that clearly has lots of money to spend, but it's not even totally clear where it comes from. Lots of influence.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all behind the scenes, pretty much.
Yes. His name is known, but he's...
Right.
Yeah.
There's like no real footprint of his investments. There's only one publicly known like client that he took, a big business guy. So just enigmatic.
So the files, not a manila folder. Some are probably in manila folders, but what are they, Kathleen?
Yeah. So Epstein did have, we know him for his crimes at this point in time. And so the investigations into those crimes are really what the files are. So starting in 1996, he was accused of sexual assault, and that was reported to the police. It didn't go anywhere. So that's, where are the files on that? And then in 2005, he was accused of assault again, and that did go somewhere, but it ended with a very lenient sweetheart deal. So that's actually going to be the starting point for when people want to know about the files, because he is accused of of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. And through the investigation into that, at least 34 other victims come about. And so there's a lot of files there. But he ends up pleading guilty to just a state charge, something very lower level instead of federal charges, and gets a crazy deal.
Yeah, so he pleads guilty to like 2 state charges, and as part of that, he gets like immunity for any federal charges ever related to any of these things that happened.
Wow.
For him, and like also like any unnamed co-conspirator. I think there were a few that
4 named.
There were 4 people.
And anyone else.
Yeah, and anyone else. And then also just the sentence is like, okay, so he's sentenced to 13 months in prison.
Sentenced to 18, serves 13.
Okay. And it's at this county jail that he serves. He has a private wing of the jail. He has this crazy generous work release program where he only has to actually be in the cell for 12 hours a day.
6 days a week.
He gets to go out 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And so then he just goes and like works from his mansions and buildings, and just very, very lenient.
Yeah.
So when I think jail, this is totally not traditionally what a jail sentence would be.
No, like the door, at some point in his time there, the door stayed open. Like he wasn't in a cell. He had a TV that he may or may not have paid for himself to have there. Like the company that he started to work from during his work release program paid some money to the sheriff's office.
The point is, this was the sweetheart deal of all sweetheart deals.
And with the deal, it meant that the FBI couldn't investigate anymore because there's going to be no more charges. So why investigate? So 34 victims, could be more. Let's not investigate it.
Wow.
So he then leaves prison, and but again, what are the files? There's court records of
how did we get to this
yes,
deal?
like
whose idea was
exactly
this?
What written documentation of like, hey, stop investigating this because there's this, this plea agreement.
And also, what documentation of telling the victims about the deal?
None, which is important and comes back up. So they signed this plea deal and didn't inform the victims. And that becomes really significant.
It's illegal.
Right. It's illegal. And that's part of what, if we fast forward to kind of the modern era of Epstein files, starts in 2018. You want to just explain that?
So after he leaves prison and goes back to doing shadowy money stuff, the Miami Herald, a reporter there, kind of didn't let it go. And she really did some like incredible investigative work and published some reports in 2018 of just what happened. How did, in her opinion, the criminal justice system fail with this Epstein case, which really renewed public interest in it and kind of reignited like victims saying that they didn't feel justice was served. And people were wondering like, what are we not being told?
And ultimately led to him being arrested again. And so he was arrested in July of 2019.
Yeah.
And then was awaiting trial. He was denied bail, was awaiting trial, and a month later was found dead in his cell. And then there's also more of the files that like the video was missing, and then it came out, and then there was a missing minute, and now we found the missing minute. And so it just feels like, hey, there was so much time and things were bungled that it like creates this air of
conspiracy.
Exactly. Like, well, was this the footage, or did they recreate it, or all that stuff?
Yeah.
Now let's fast forward. There are other trials. Ghislaine Maxwell was eventually, after Epstein's death, she was charged.
His main co-conspirator.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And she was charged and is currently serving prison time for sex trafficking and basically running the operation of getting these underage girls to where Epstein was. And then in 2025, the Trump administration starts releasing files. And you get different batches of files. This summer, the big batch was 33,000 files, and it's you get court records, investigative documents, victim and witness interviews, flight logs, and a bunch of things. Importantly, well, go ahead.
I was going to say, didn't somebody say there was only like 3% of new information?
Right. Well, because some of this was already public. Like some court documents are filed publicly. One of the things was like his will. It had to go to probate court. And so that's like filed. And so you see things that are. So a lot of this 33,000 document was like just, hey,
You
we
could have found it somewhere else.
we've gathered it all together. But there's also
one big manila envelope.
right, one big manila envelope. And here there is some new info. Importantly, there are things that are not released. So identities have been redacted. Some of victims, which like haven't come forward, and everyone is supportive of like, hey, don't share the especially this was an underage
14 and
yes.
15.
Yeah, that makes sense.
At one point, 12.
There are other names that are redacted that are more controversial of like flight logs, who was flying on his plane. And understandably, these people may have been doing legitimate business or something and just do not want to be associated.
Yeah.
But also the public is like, hey, maybe you were privy to these crimes or engaged in these crimes. And, that's what we want to know.
Yeah.
And that comes to like the big missing thing is the client list. And the allegation, the hypothesis is that that Jeffrey Epstein was accepting money and trafficking women for other powerful, influential men and kept documentation of this. And that these people committed crimes and then were blackmailed by Epstein to get a great prison sentence and other things. And so it's where is that client list? Where's that black book? And officially, the DOJ and I think every official organization says that just doesn't exist. But does it not exist, or do the rich and powerful people named in it say that it doesn't exist?
Right.
And that, I think, is really the crux of like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, most like commentators even, not just like official entities of the U.S. government, will say like that's just not gonna be found. But
yeah, the most compelling argument I've heard for it to not be found is like people don't keep great documentation of their crimes. Like that would you wouldn't want to have that book because you would be implicated.
Right.
But
yeah.
So how do you feel? Do you feel like you get it?
Yeah, so I just had a vague idea of what this was all about, but you guys helped fill in some important details. So something I learned as you guys were talking is what kind of got the ball rolling was this plea deal that was illegal because in 2008, the sweetheart deal that was taken, the victims that were involved in this case were not even told that the plea deal was accepted and taken. So that got the ball rolling. But then pour gasoline on the fire, the 2018 Miami Herald
10 years later.
10 years later, the investigative report that came out really incorporated the public's outcry and outrage on this and put a lot more of a shining spotlight on Jeffrey Epstein. So when we fast forward to the Epstein files, he mysteriously, some would say, died while he was serving his sentence.
While he was waiting to be sentenced.
While he was waiting to be sentenced, people just will take any bits of information, and we don't have all information, so they can just try and connect whatever dots they want to. I think the conspiracy surrounds this idea that there were big names of rich, high-profile people that Epstein may or may not have been involved with trafficking underage girls with. And there's this idea that there's this client list that has not been released, and what we call the Epstein files. People want to know who was involved in this whole operations. And over the last year, there have been a lot of files, pages released. A lot of it's old information that's already public. Only a little bit's new. But none of it has contained the so-called, what people theorize exists, the client list.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't know. They could release 100,000 pages, and I feel like people are still going to say there's more that you're not telling us. I just don't know. I think too much time has passed and too many things have been a little bit shady for people to be satisfied with anything other than an explicit client list, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that leads into how we should respond as Christians, which is just it's tough to wrestle with. I think part of what resonates with me, or I feel like I need to hear, is justice has been miscarried, and we, as much as we should pursue trying to make as much right as we can, it cannot be like this. Justice cannot be served in this situation, and we just won't ever have all the information that we want to be able to carry out that justice. But we can, as Christians, uniquely take hope and comfort in the fact that when we zoom out, like, justice will be served, and I think that is really the only way to get peace from this in my mind, is saying we have a God who knows what happened and is able to make things right, and yeah, it feels like that's as much as I can hope in.
Yeah. I mean, I could use all the Christian perspectives on this. Like, if you even take one step further than we did, it's just very heavy.
Dark.
Yeah. And so I don't want to gloss over that. I'm thinking through, what do I need personally? And that's just like guarding my heart and being discerning about how I do, how do I pray in reaction to thinking about the Epstein files, And I think it's just knowing that, like, God has promised us heaven, and he has promised us justice, and he has promised us that what happens in the dark will come to light. But, and he doesn't delay his promises, as some understand delays, like 2 Peter says, but his timing is not our timing and his ways are not our ways. So just being able to kind of give that to him and to guard my heart with the things of him is how I'm going to have to personally react to this.
Amen. Thank you, guys. That's such a good word, especially in a kind of a darker topic. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in to another episode of TPO Explainers. As a reminder, we do have video available on YouTube and on Spotify, so please make sure to check us out on those platforms. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.
Bye.